Alright, so doing my normal Monday sharpening gig, and one of the young men who works there, he's a subscriber of the channel. I see him up there regularly. He brings me this knife and explained to me that this was the first knife his dad ever gave him. And it is definitely falling apart. I mean, we all had this knife when we were in middle school or high school, even college. You know, it was something that was a hand-me-down, something we got from family or a friend. This one is one of those Texas trophy hunters. So his dad probably got this at a shooting event and brought it home and gave it to his son as a gift. So that in itself is awesome and sentimental. So he asked if it could be fixed. I'm sure it could just take some screws and screw them into the spacer, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to take it apart. We're going to clean the rust off this thing for him. We're going to put a fresh edge on it because he said he tried to sharpen it with a whetstone he'd been given for Christmas. Didn't sound like he was very happy with it. He actually did a pretty good job. I mean, probably better than when I was sharpening at that age. So yeah, let's get this thing pulled apart. I've got some standoffs from some other knife mod projects that I'm working on. Alright. Let's get the screw and pivot out. This is your stop pin. Alright, so let's talk knife anatomy. Scales, standoff, screw, pivot, pocket clip, blade, thumb stud, washers. This is a stop pin. This is a liner lock liner, and then your other scale. So alright, we're going to get the rust cleaned off of this, and then we'll go from there. So there's a couple ways you could do this. If you follow the channel at all for any length of time, you already know what I'm about to do. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. If you're doing it on a kitchen knife, I think it's vinegar and a little bit of lemon juice. Now that will cause a little bit of a patina, but let's see, these standoffs come off? No, they're integrated to it. Alright, we'll figure that out in a minute. We may just throw some screws in this for him. Alright, let's clean this off. Y'all already know we're using my favorite. Isopropyl alcohol is amazing. I'm still convinced that the guy who created this stuff had no clue what all we were going to use it for. Alright. Now, let me see. We're going to take a tiny piece of steel wool, and this is quadruple aught, and this is the only type I will use on anything that is like knife or metal finish related, because all the others will scratch. So you want to go with the finest grit. And you want to be very light. If you notice, I'm not rubbing hard. I'm just so we're just going to make sure we got all that off. And when you do this, you're gonna start to see all the little stuff that's been hidden by dirt and alright, so you can already see that's significantly cleaner. I mean, you can tell this thing is well loved. Be awesome to get it cleaned back up for him. Let's see, can we get it cleaned up where we can see that lettering? Yeah. There we go. Cool. Alright, let me get the rest of this rust off of here. And anything that doesn't come off easily, I'll throw this on a surface conditioning belt. I'm just trying to save that as a last resort. I really don't want anything to risk removing that logo for him. So we're just very lightly knocking off that surface debris. Especially when it's a field knife like this that gets used regularly. I mean, it's already gonna have scratches, so let's get the rust off so the blade doesn't pit. A little bit of character and wear just makes a knife look good, in my personal opinion. Tells a story. So that little bit of patina and discoloration, like, that's not a bad thing. We just don't want the rust. I have a lot of really old knives that have patina on them. Let's see if we can just get down in there. Nope. Alright, I'm gonna need let's see, what can we get down there? Copper brush. Or copper bore brush will do it. Go raid your Q-tip drawer. It's great for a lot of this. Let's see, can we clean up around that? Let's see if we can just lightly clean up around that logo. Yeah, that's better. Let's get that tip a little bit. All right. Bright light, you can still kind of see the Texas Trophy Hunter. Alright, so we got the rust off the blade. Let's get the rust off of the pocket clip. You do still have to be gentle with this steel wool. I mean, you don't want to press super hard and rub, but it does pretty good. So like, take this pivot for example. A couple of just light lay it down. I don't know if y'all can see, basically I'm just putting it in there and I'm just Trying to twist a little bit, trying to get around that collar. You can see that's already a significant improvement. Just take the pivot, put it in your steel wool, and just kind of all right, let's clean this liner. Clean the lock face. Try and make sure you don't get oil on the lock face of your knives when you're cleaning them. If you do, wipe it off real good. And y'all, there's always on our website, often in the going forward in the link and description of stuff, we're just going to put an Amazon affiliate link, have some links to some stuff, you know, gear I recommend or use myself. I'm not big on just recommending random stuff. Like if I'm going to recommend something, it's either something I've already bought and owned and liked, something that I've gifted someone else, something that I have some experience with in some way, shape, or form. I'm not just going to recommend products to y'all that I myself wouldn't use. I often don't carry many of the more affordable knives these days. Just 20 years of collecting. I tend to have a couple of preferences that pretty much make it in the pocket these days, but I still have a great appreciation. You know, I came up on Buck and Kershaw and Spyderco, ZT, Emerson, you know. There's so many great knives out there, and now with Wee and Civivi and all the stuff they're doing, Kershaw's making some really great stuff now. There's a lot of really good knife companies now. All right. Try to let that isopropyl kind of sink in and knock any of that gunk loose. All right. So that looks like that's from moisture getting in between those scales and just kind of sitting. And that's kind of common with these. Take it fishing with you or something, you use it, you put it back in your pocket, you don't realize your hands were wet. Alright, well, again, you kind of got some of that patina still on it, a little discoloration, but we got the rust off. Alright, let me get a little... Gonna get a little nylon brush and use an old toothbrush. You can get some of these nylon bristle cleaning brushes at like any hardware store. Just trying to get some of that debris out. All right. Let's look at what's going on here. All right, that's plastic, so that rust is just gonna wipe off. Oh, there's a little piece of metal in there. It's just still got the coating on it, it looks like. Oh, there's a little bit of rust right in that little spot right there. All right. So we'll hit that with our steel wool. Get that cleaned up. All right. Let's get the pivot screw. Good nick out of that. Thing got used as a hammer at some point. All right. Let's wipe off these washers. Okay. Now, let me get a fresh paper towel. Toss this rusty okay. Now we gotta figure out those are very much molded into this. Okay. So that's going to change the plan a little bit. All right, let's clean this off. Dry everything off. And y'all know we're going to sharpen it before we're done. All right, that's wiped off. Wiped off. That's wiped off. That's wiped off. That's wiped off. Let's wipe that off. Stuff out of the way here. All right. So I don't love super edited videos myself. I kind of feel like they're inauthentic. You know, people don't show their mistakes. They don't show what it really takes to do stuff a lot of times. Just, hey, this went perfectly smooth. Like, yeah. If it all goes perfectly smooth, you're not taking enough chances. Alright, there's likely going to be a flat spot. Where is it? At the top. Alright, so there's often something indexed somewhere so stuff doesn't spin. It's indexed at the top of this one. Okay, we're going to need, looks like, small washer. Blade. Nope, I did that wrong. See? Kind of got to have that, the old locking liner, huh? I was just thinking through the setup of this thing and the screws going through. So, the reason I say that is, let's put the washer back on. Because when we go to put this scale on, oh, come on now. Come on now. Yeah, when we go to put that scale, yeah, I don't see where these screws are going to go through. Because there's no thread holes. Alright, I think what we're going to have to do here is countersink these two holes to be able to put a standoff in it. Let me see if these standoffs leave. Alright, let me think about this for a second. Alright, I've looked through every combination of standoff and screw I have. Nothing fits this thing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take brass pins and we are going to pin this thing. So that at least this young man can still have a knife that means something to him that his dad gave him. So I'm going to cut these off. Yeah, it's too thick. I'll have to mark them, cut them. All right, let me run these back over to the bandsaw, trim them down a little. Mark them both. All right, let me go cut these on the bandsaw, and then we'll pin these into the handle. All right, I'm back. All right. Let me get let's get a punch. Okay, we're gonna need a small steel punch. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. Let's get our ball peen hammer. This. Make the knife on it. I'm trying to get the clean. Gotta hold it right there. Can't move it. Real hard not to crack these. Well, I definitely cut that too long. And I think in the future, you peen one side before you do. Might have to. Yeah. Definitely should have cut that shorter. Okay. All right, y'all. So we resorted to pens. It ain't the prettiest, but it's at least held together now. All right, well, back together. We'll put an edge on it a little later. And yeah, he'll be back rocking and rolling. So the additional part of this is what we need. We need a hammer. I had some brass pins from knife making. You can get them on Amazon. I used a 532 punch, my ball peen hammer, and a little file. So outside of that, it was some steel wool and a little bit of patience and a driver with a little hex bit. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful to someone. I know it probably doesn't seem like it to y'all, but this knife's sentimental to him, so I'm glad we could get it back at least functional. So, y'all have a good one.